Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. So today is the 5th of January 2021, and I'm going to be doing an update video linked into coronavirus and the pandemic in our world. Just to say, those of you that are new to my channel, there is a playlist that you will find on my channel called Coronavirus, and that has all of the videos that I did last year linked into this subject. All of the information is still valid and all of the guidance is still probably very needed. I have to say, this video is going to be I'm just going to go for it. It's going to be quite hard hitting. I'm just going to say it as it is. Okay, it's one of those times I'm just going to have to do that. The first thing I want to say also, which Metatron is asking me to, is months ago I kept hearing that it's time that we do the work. So that also means that sometimes it's about going back and watching what has already been said. I don't have the time to always go back and summarise over things that I have said before. So if you want to get up to speed with the Metatron message, the overall message linked into this virus, of which there are many different parts and many different lessons, please go back and watch the old videos if you are interested, because I've probably covered a lot of what the questions might be if you're coming to this first time in them. Okay, so I'm assuming you've done that. We are going to be moving on to new information here. I'm not going to be repeating myself too much, with one or two exceptions. So what's prompted this video today is the fact that the UK has gone back into its third lockdown. This is a national lockdown, as of midnight last night. And it's not altogether unexpected. Having said that, I think the energy has hit many people like a ton of bricks. And I certainly can feel it this morning myself. Although I'm using the UK as a reference point here, it's purely because it's where I live and it's the case that I am the closest to. I'm very aware that this is happening all over the world, and you are all in and out of different states of lockdown and different states of either distress or relief linked into wherever you are linked into this pandemic. I'm also not doing this video for people that want to come on and just say that this is fake, it's not happening. If you are one of those, I haven't got anything to say to you, okay? So you're welcome on my channel, but this probably is not the video for you, okay? So I'm just not going to entertain that anymore. I think that we don't have time for it anymore, is what I'm hearing, okay? So this video is intended for people that want the guidance, want the support, and are aware that something is happening in our world that is actually a rolling tragedy and are needing some angelic assistance. That's why I'm here today, to bring that through. Okay, so yes, as of last night, we went back into our third national lockdown. The first thing I want to say is that the schools went back yesterday in most of England. Fortunately, I've only got one child who's still school age, and actually I now home educate her, or we home educate her. So we're not that affected, but my heart went out to the children yesterday and the teachers going back into school, because it didn't take a rocket scientist to realise that the schools were then going to be told they were closing. I just remember the sheer amount of energy it takes to get yourself back prepped for the first day of school after a holiday, whether you're a parent, whether you are the child going back in, or as I say, whether you are the teacher. Met actually somebody who is a headmaster at one of the local schools around here in the park, walking the dog the other day, and they said this was Sunday night. They weren't even sure how many teachers were going to be coming back in. So complete uncertainty, but the kids, the teachers, the parents got back in there for the first day, only to be told last night at 8 o'clock in the evening that schools were basically now out until at least February half term, which is the middle of half term. And we are being told that that's the best estimate. Now, I want to say to you that if you have got children who are school age, or if you are a teacher or a parent and are concerned about the education aspect of all of this, I did a very comprehensive video last year about this subject where Archangel Metatron brought through some guidance for you, for the kids, for the parents, and for the teachers. It's probably well worth revisiting that. From memory, some of the things that we talked about in that is that I think I called it something like children, they're born for these times, which is the fact that I know many children are struggling with these changes, but there is also a huge percentage of them who are very able to adapt to these ups and downs of energy that we're in. And they were born for these times. They have an inner resilience, they have an inner strength, and they will lead the way. I also brought through some information that there was going to be a mass exodus of teachers who just couldn't cope with this toing and froing energy. But equally, there would be a new breed of teacher that came in who actually would be, sort of pushing up their sleeves and relishing the challenge. I also talked about the fact that there was going to be a revolution in terms of education, full stop, with many also choosing to maybe home educate after this whole experience. Not everybody, but some. So that video is definitely worth rewatching if you need some guidance on that particular subject. I'd like to I will just say also that just to bring everybody else up to speed who might not be in the UK, certainly our situation here is that we're looking at lockdown lasting until the beginning of March. So we've just entered January, we've got at least 2 months ahead of ourselves where we are in lockdown. I would like to encourage all of us that are in this situation, whether you're in the UK, whether you're anywhere else around the world, that it's time to dig deep into your own inner reserves of strength and courage, and that you will be able to get through this. Anybody that's, there are so many worries at the moment, and so many of those worries are very valid, whether it's linked into your health, whether it's linked into your job, your security, your family, opportunities, etc. There isn't anybody that isn't in some way affected by what is going on in our world at the moment. And I truly believe that even though these are really difficult times that we're living through, this is going to be, I'm hearing a renaissance that comes in on the back of this wave. And it's a wave that is difficult and unpleasant, but unfortunately humanity had got to the place whereby it was resistant to bringing through the evolutionary changes that are needed in our world, and something had to come in to bring mankind to its knees. And this is one of the ways in which it is being done. I also want you all to remember that anything that happens on this planet, including this pandemic, is something that we as a collective have chosen. And if that triggers you, I understand, but it's what I believe to be true. Everything that happens is subject to us as a collective choosing it. There is no exception, particularly when it is something that affects the whole world. This is a soul group choice that mankind took, the men and the women and the children and the animals that are here right now on Mother Earth, took this decision pre-incarnation to come in and experience exactly this moment. The difficulties, the challenges, the loss, the grief, the pain, but then the renaissance and the evolution that it brings in its wake. Okay, so we're just going to have to dig deep. We're going to have to help each other. We're going to have to support each other, and we're going to have some trust and faith. Okay, so that being said, let's get to some of the things that I'd like to be talking about on this video. Let's go way, way back now into history, because I do feel as though history and being aware of history is crucial for us at this point that we're at in terms of our evolution. I think we're very quick to not want to look at history, but history is rich with knowledge and experience and can help guide us. So over, I don't know when I saw it, I think it was over the Christmas period, a documentary caught my eye, and it was linked into the Spanish flu that killed between 20 to 50 million people after the First World War. Now, this was at a time when there was no such thing as vaccines or medicines. So I'm just reading something here. And it said that it affected about 1/3 of the planet's population. It was first observed in Europe, United States, and parts of Asia before swiftly spreading around the world. There were no effective drugs, no vaccines. Citizens were ordered to wear masks. Schools, theatres, and businesses were shut. Bodies piled up in makeshift morgues before the virus ended in 1920. I think it ended in 1920. It petered out. If you think about a virus, it has a life. There's a life force within it. It died its own death. So there is something. Why I'm talking about this is a few things. One of the first videos that I ever did with regard to this pandemic that we're in, it was something that Metatron said, which really stayed with me. And he said that some of us have, many of us actually, have immunity. When I say immunity, tolerance is a better word, he's saying, a greater tolerance to this current pandemic because of the immunity that was built up via our ancestors. So by the nature of the beast, we have ancestors that survived the Spanish flu, but equally I was also shown the Black Plague, which affected London. I'm sure there would have been other plagues around the world as well, but again, UK reference there. That those of us that have relatives that got, whether it's Spanish flu, whether it was Black Plague, some of these viruses that have swept across the world and taken out great swathes of the population, those of us that had relatives that survived it, we have a greater inbuilt tolerance. I don't quite want to say immunity because it's taken it maybe a little bit too far, but it explains why some people are getting it and are floored by it, and other people seem to just bounce back and it doesn't seem to touch them very much. It doesn't necessarily help very much because it's like you can't change your ancestry, but I did think it was an interesting point. Now, another thing I've found interesting about the Spanish flu was that, you see, we live in an era now where we have too much, I would almost say we've got too much media. We've got too much media. We have so many different sources of information that we can't anymore understand or decipher what is true, what is fake. In the Spanish flu, during the first wave, there was a complete media blackout. Can you imagine what that would have been like? So what it basically meant was that people were just dropping dead and dying and disappearing, but nobody was saying why that was happening. There was a complete media blackout on it. So again, this thing about the middle way, which Metatron always teaches about, it's almost like in the Spanish flu, there was no information. There was nothing being said in that first wave. Whereas now, we just have an overload of information. So we need to, again, get back to that middle path type teaching. Also found it interesting that Australia, during the Spanish flu, I mean, they are an island, but they made themselves even more of an island. They really barricaded themselves in and were pretty much protected from the ravages of the disease. And, if you look at the way Australia played this particular pandemic, I think I'm not making a judgment call on whether they've done it right or wrong. I'm just observing what they did was they closed their borders very early on, not being able to travel in and out of the country, versus, for example, here in the UK, where people have been coming and going through the whole of it. just watching breakfast news, there was a government minister on saying finally, after 11 months, they might be about to bring in some restrictions. So again, it's just observing and noticing similarities in terms of the way countries have reacted in the past and still are reacting now. So Australia in the past, in the Spanish flu, very much sealed themselves off and protected themselves from the ravages that was happening elsewhere in the world. And again, although they've had cases, of course, in Australia, it's nothing like what's happening certainly in places like America and parts of Europe. One of the countries that was the most affected in 1918 to 1920 was India. And again, I did look at India last year, and I'd quite like an update on how it's going out there. And probably I'm not going to do it in this video, but again, India was very badly affected last time, probably is again. But we have to sometimes put things in perspective, that although what's happening in our world right now is terrible at one level and very upsetting, and we need to get through it together, we need to remember where we've come from as a race. And one of the things I want to talk about is the spirit of the elderly, the war generation, that just were able to dig deep and survive. Again, last reference to the Spanish flu, but, there's a story of a boat that I believe left America with 9,000 people on board. I think they were coming across to Europe. By the time it arrived in Europe, there were 2,000 people dead on that boat, okay? Only 7,000 survived it. But yet we look now at what's happening in our world almost as though this has never happened before, as though this is something that's just appeared it has appeared from nowhere, although let's not even get into where it's come from. I've talked about that in other videos. But again, I want us just to put it in perspective in terms of what our ancestors lived through and survived, and where we are now as a world, because I really feel it helps. I've always said that to my children, for example, when bad things have happened in our world, I've always reminded them of, for example, think yourself lucky that you weren't alive in the Middle Ages, scavenging round in the mud for food, having your head chopped off or being hung at the stake if you believed in herbs or something. Every single generation has had its challenges. And actually, I feel as though the generation that we have now alive on this planet, with the exception of the war generation, it's as though we've never been tested. We've not been tested. And so this is the test. This is our test that's come in. This is the test that this strand of humanity that's alive now on the planet, that includes you and me, chose. And how are we going to rise to that challenge? How deep can we dig? And I hope we dig really deep. That's what I'm going to be encouraging us to do. But yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the elderly. One of you on my Facebook page mentioned this yesterday, that they'd been talking to I think you said he was a 92-year-old father. And this man had basically reminded his son that, talking about the situation we're in right now in 2021 with the pandemic, it'll be okay. We've survived worse. Referencing back to the war, we've survived worse than this. Talking about himself as well at 92, it's okay, I've survived worse than this, we'll be all right. That is the spirit that we need to find. And I saw it for myself over the weekend. My mum isn't in her 90s. In fact, I've got quite a young mother. She's only mid-70s. She's 77 this year. But she's in sheltered accommodation, in a flat with a warden, that type of situation. So there's lots of people in these flats, and some of them are considerably older than her. And I walked down with mum to the laundry room, and we met some old boy, and he was in his 90s. He had his walking frame, and he'd just gone out for his constitutional walk, as he calls it, which he does every day. And we had a conversation about, wearing masks, for example, because they might be bringing that into the communal areas soon. And he was laughing about it. He was talking about getting the jab and, but it was all very much, it was quite gung-ho, it was very sort of like, this isn't going to beat me. He was talking about going round to his granddaughters for lunch, even though he shouldn't be. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but, it was just the attitude. It's the attitude. The attitude was gold star, 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 star. And I really took something from it. And again, if you've been following my teachings for a while, you'll know that last year Metatron was saying to us very clearly that watch for the two extremities of age groups. Watch the very young, I'm talking about, teenagers down to a much younger child, and older teenagers as well. I'd put the, early 20s in that bracket. Watch the young and watch the very old. And these two groups are really going to help steer us. They're going to steer the ship. Doesn't mean that the people in the middle haven't got anything to do, but there's going to be a lot of wisdom coming from both of these groups. Back to education, I feel as though the youngsters are far more capable of adapting to these changes than actually their parents. And, this older generation, they're tough. They've lived through worse than this, and they're reminding us that we can do it, basically. So look to the elderly and don't close your ears to what they have to say. There's considerable wisdom there, okay? Also remember, what Metatron's saying to me is that there are many ancestors behind you as well. This card from my own deck, which shows the ancestors. I love this. I love this painting. This is, it's showing the ones that have just arrived, the babies, the people that are here, but all of this great big long line of ancestors that are willing you on. Okay, so including those that may have passed in previous pandemics, including those that may have survived in past pandemics. It also doesn't mean that just because you had an ancestor that passed in a pandemic that you are going to. That's not what I'm saying. It's a bit like I'm being shown the race analogy again. It's as though if you've got an ancestor that managed to survive one of these pandemics, it's almost as though you've got a little bit of a heads up or an advantage. But I believe we all have the ability to create a healing space for ourselves and for our families. And I'll talk more about that later, okay? In fact, no, let me talk about it now. Again, lots has been said in previous videos, that things you can do to help yourself. You can go back and watch those videos. But one thing I don't think talked about too much is the energy of anger and fear versus the energy of love, linked into healing the body, okay? Linked into actually prevention, but equally linked into healing the body. There is no, if you're going to get this, you will get it. Whether you get it badly, whether you get it as just something a bit like a head cold or a bad flu, is to be decided. Is something that at soul level you also will have signed up for. I'm sorry, but it's what I believe to be true. Having said that, if you get it, you can recover better and faster by holding the energy of love versus holding the energy of anger or fear. And the same applies in terms of trying to prevent it or thwart it getting a hold of you, okay? So if you imagine the virus, it is around, it's in our communities, hovering, don't think about it too much because we don't want to pull it in, but imagine it was like hovering. If you were holding a vibration, think about your aura now. If your aura was holding a very high vibration of love and strength, it's not a guarantee that you can't get ill, but it means that if you get ill, you might be able to, again, you've got a heads up, an advantage in terms of being able to push through it a little bit quicker, okay? There is no, I don't like this energy that I saw last year in our community, which was like, if I just stay in love and light, I'm not going to get it. That is not accurate and it's not true, because it's bypassing soul choice, and souls choose the experiences that happen to them in this life. That includes illness, that includes amazing blessings, that includes everything, to be perfectly honest. The soul is the driver. So it's not accurate just to say if I just stay in love and light, I'm immune to it. It's going to help you to thwart it, and it's definitely the right thing to do, but there are no guarantees in this game, okay? But I am encouraging you to try and let go of the anger and fear and welcome in the energy of love, because it's definitely going to help boost your immune system. Okay, it's going to boost your immune system. And when you boost your immune system, you're obviously better able to fight off any virus that finds its way in, or, not allow it in the doorway to start with. So why I'm mentioning anger and fear is that if we look at our community and we look at the subject, we even just raise the subject of COVID, I see it on my social media pages. If I mention the subject, there is so much anger and so much. It's more anger than fear, actually. There's more anger than anything. Now, yes, I can understand that at one level. Whether it's I'm angry that my income is threatened. I'm angry at the loss that I've suffered. I'm angry at the changes that are being forced on us. I'm angry that I have to wear a mask. I'm angry that the shops are closed. I'm angry. You might feel that this is a government thing. I'm not commenting on that. Maybe that's where your anger comes from. None of it actually helps you. None of it helps your physical body, because anger doesn't really understand anything other than anger. It doesn't compartmentalize it into, well, I'm angry, but I'm angry for a cause that I believe to be true. And it's okay to be that, but it's about not staying in that frequency. So if you've spent the whole of last year just being bloody angry at everything, about COVID, about the cover-ups, about fake news, if that's what you believe to be true, even if it's valid, even if you believe that is valid, you're holding that frequency within your body, which is anger. If you could see what anger does to the cells within your body, to the organs within your body, to the capillaries within your body, to your lungs, to your breath, you would realize that it's okay to feel anger. And indeed, we can't get away from anger because it's one of the emotions that we're here to feel as a human being. But you need to not stay in that energy. It's about moving past it into love, because love is the highest frequency, and love is the only thing that can actually heal anger anyway. And love is the only thing that actually can heal the world. Love is the only thing that can heal anything. Anger never heals anything. Anger just begets anger. Okay, same with fear. Fear is corrosive. Fear will lower your immune system. Fear will not do you any favors at all, okay? So again, Metatron reminding us of the damage that the two energies of anger and fear, if you stay in them all the time, do to the body. The answer is to align to love. Align to love. How do I do that? Well, that's the multi-million-dollar question, but there's probably a multitude and a million different answers for that. Aligning to love. What comes to mind for you when I say that about aligning to love? It's about demonstrating and being love. It's about softening. It's about gentleness. It's about compassion. It's about softness. It's about non-judgment. It's about tolerance. Love is not just an abstract thing. Love is made up of 100 million different qualities that make it love. What does love look like? What does anger look like? If you think about that, I'm just seeing this angry, screwed up face, okay? Bright red, blood vessels about to pop, bright red, angry face. If you can see the bright red, angry face, can you imagine what's happening inside the body? It's being mirrored, okay? That's what anger does. That's what anger looks like. Look at my fist. What does love look like? Love doesn't look like that. Okay. So it's about, and you can ask the angels for help with this, to align to love, to work from the heart, not the ego, not the mind, not my way is the highway, as I keep saying, I am right, you are wrong, from the heart. The heart also respects all opinions. The heart also respects all perspectives. But the heart leads the way. The heart is the beacon. Where's my beautiful heart card in my own deck? Just want to show that to you. Yeah, here it is. Love. Being around beauty as well. What is beauty to you? Maybe it's music, maybe it's flowers, maybe it's nature, maybe it's colours. The energy of love. Colour-wise, it's pink, it's coral. Pink, the energy of love. Let's spray a little bit of love energy, shall we? Yeah, I want the pink lotus. Think about the lotus flower. Pink lotus. This is the heart chakra spray. Let's just spray some of this. Align to love, walk in love, be love, breathe love, feel love, speak love, search for love, demonstrate love. Okay. What else do I want to say? I also want to mention kindness. One of you on my Facebook page yesterday mentioned kindness, how important kindness is. Kindness would be one of the qualities that demonstrates love. Okay. I've said before last year that the waves will come back of this pandemic until we have learned the lessons, until we've come back to a greater alignment to love. And it's so easy for us to forget. And one thing I'd like to just remind us on, this is a UK reference, but I'm sure it probably happened in other parts of the world. In the first wave of the virus, lots of people went into their hearts and they were able to demonstrate extraordinary gratitude and appreciation for people working on the front line in hospitals. Our nurses, our doctors, all of, the cleaners, everybody that makes up, whether it's a hospital, etc. Over the New Year period, I saw some pictures which really horrified me. And it was pictures, but it was also an interview with a young doctor who had just come off, I don't know, a 15-hour shift or something, a very, very long shift, overnight shift, on a COVID ward in the UK at a hospital in London, and had seen and dealt with what he needed to do, and was greeted by a crowd of people heckling and claiming that this was all fake news. It was all fake. The virus wasn't real. There was nobody in the wards. And I thought, how do you answer that? I mean, you can't really. He was just in despair. I think it was a bloke. He was in despair in terms of the reality that he'd just been with, that he'd actually been with people with this condition, trying to help them, versus the crowd outside who didn't even believe what he'd done was what he'd done. There was something going around Facebook about a week ago, and I copied this, and it's just a very short little passage. I want to read it to you. Because in the UK, during the first wave, we went into our hearts. We did this clap for carers, okay? I mean, to be honest, it did go on a bit, but when it was at its peak, people were in that state of gratitude, genuine gratitude. You came out, you clapped at 8 o'clock on a Thursday, whatever it was, to show your appreciation for people that were helping other people. Okay, that's what it was all about. And it felt good at the time. Communities were coming together. Neighbours were actually talking to each other, happened in our street. Little old ladies that you never saw from one year to the next were coming out their houses, standing at the end of their drives, chatting to people in the street. It was bringing people together, but it was bringing people together from a place of gratitude for what other people were doing to help others. Roll forward. This is what I want to read you. This is what somebody wrote. This was, I think, a doctor wrote this on Facebook. The respect is gone. The appreciation is gone. The thank you so much for working through this has been replaced by this is ridiculous. Understandably, the frustration felt by patients and their relatives is at an all-time high. The annoyed eye rolls and huffy sighs when you tell them it shouldn't be much longer, we are doing the best we can, are really starting to chip away at our morale. The free coffee and meals are a thing of the past. The hotel lights in the shape of hearts aren't on anymore. The neighbours that waved us off to work and told us to stay safe have gone back inside. I'm going to get upset. And the local rag, that means newspaper, is back to pointing out our shortcomings. We are still here. We are still fighting. We are working harder than we ever have. We are exhausted. We are frustrated. We are so emotionally and physically drained. We are skipping breaks. We are going in early and coming home late. We are missing time with our families. We are doing the best that we can. We aren't healthcare heroes anymore. We have become slaves to the pandemic, and it is really exhausting. Respect the NHS. It's written by a doctor, I believe. Whoever it was written by, it makes its point very clearly. And I could feel that energy in our country. This, as personified by the crowd outside the hospital, it's all fake, it's not actually happening, the wards are empty, versus the people who are going in there. And if, God forbid, it's your mother, or it's your father, or it's your grandparent, or it's your partner who gets in one of those beds, they're the people that are picking up the pieces. The respect is gone. Now, that, I'm not saying it's all gone, but I'm saying energetically, I can feel that. We went from this big high of appreciation and love and gratitude to sort of like, as he said, the eye rolls and the huffiness. Have we learnt the lesson from the first wave? No. No, we haven't, guys. We haven't. As a species, I'm talking. I'm not talking about you and me, maybe. I'm talking about as a species. So this is here to teach us something, and it will stay until it's taught us what we're meant to learn, which is I'm wanting to say a humbling of the human race and a realignment back into the heart and appreciation for others, our lives, and things that we've just taken for granted. We've taken so much for granted. One of you, I believe it was in Australia, I think you may have been in Melbourne, where you had the lockdown for a number of months, didn't you? Like we're about to go through here in the UK. And you said something along the lines of, even though it had been really difficult, when you came out of it as a country, or as a city, whatever, you really were able to reappreciate the beauty of everything and the things that you had taken for granted. It seems to be this thing about appreciation and gratitude feels as though it's one of the biggest gifts that we get to learn through this. The question is, are we going to learn it? Okay. I have to also say, one of you, just lightening it up a bit here, I can't remember where this comment was. Can't remember, so I'm going to have to paraphrase it. I think it was on my Facebook page. You were in Canada. I think you might be in Ontario. Let me see if I can find the quote. And you were saying that, it's cold out there, isn't it? My goodness, it's very cold out in parts of Canada. You were saying how you had decked out your garden, even though it's absolutely blinking freezing. And you sit out there. Yeah, here we go. I found it. Sandra, I won't say your second name, Sandra, but I love this comment that you left. So you say, we have been in lockdown in Ontario since Boxing Day. I prepared myself months ago to have winter lockdown outside. I set up a backyard oasis with patio chairs, fairy lights, and a propane fire pit. I sit out there most days for an hour or so with a hot drink and blankets. I also invested in an inflatable hot tub. Unless it's raining, I try to use it every day. It's invigorating and the jets help keep the lymph moving, which is good for immune systems. But this is the bit, it's not about buying things, for the garden. She says, it is magical to sit out there in the evening with snow falling and gazing at the stars on a clear night. Being outside makes me feel alive in winter, so I welcome the lockdown because it forced me to embrace being outside. Don't you think that's beautiful? I really think that's beautiful. So whilst many feel as though so much is being taken away, you see, nobody can take away for you the beauty of nature and her ability to restore us and inspire us. I was watching a video with Joanna Lumley. She went up to one of the furthest places in Norway, above Norway, in fact, to see the Northern Lights, the aurora. And there's this bit where she just basically lies down in the snow. She's got God knows how many pieces of clothing on. She lies down in the snow and she just looks up at the sky, and it's creating the most beautiful, fantastical display for her of the Northern Lights. But it could just be starlight or moonlight, but it was magical. And she said something along the lines of, I've waited my whole life to be able to experience this. Well, I know we can't all necessarily see the Northern Lights, but, we can see the wonders of our great universe, the stars, the moon, the constellations. Strikes me it'd be a wonderful time to actually get out there and learn what the constellations are and see if you can see the plough or whatever else is going on, in the sky at the moment. So this is a good diary, actually. I'll just give these people a shout out. I show this throughout the year. It's called the Astro Moon Diary. You have to Google Astro Moon Diary. I'm not doing it because I make any bucks off this. I just like to promote people who I think do good things. So the Astro Moon Diary, and why I'm talking about it is because they always they always tell you what's happening in the sky, what's happening in the constellations and what to look out for. So as an example, in January, it says that the planets that are visible in the morning are Venus. In the evening, you see my nose is itching like crazy, and it always does this when it's really important what I'm saying. There's real peace and healing that can be got from just sitting out and watching the stars, even if it's just momentary, okay? Even if it's from behind glass, Metatron saying, if you're not well, just try and get some of that moonlight coming in. So in the evening, Mars, Jupiter is also visible from mid-month. But yeah, it tells you where the meteor showers are happening. So let's see where we're at. The next one here is, they're saying the 10th of January. The moon is near the bright star Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, in morning near sunrise. It's just brilliant. It's a really good little book. So I do encourage you get that because it will just help keep you in tune with nature, which is going to help. Right. What else do I want to say? I'm going to pull some cards, and we are going to go into the big subject, which I know you all want to hear about, which is vaccination. Okay, so I'm just going to pull a few cards before we get to that, which is only going to be my perspective and on it. Okay, there is not a definitive answer to the question of vaccination, but let me just pull some cards in terms of what would the virus like to say to us at this time. Okay, let's ask the virus what it would like to say to us at this time. What message does the virus have for us, please, as a species at this time? Okay, I mean, it's presenting itself. If the virus was a being, it's presenting itself as the King of Wands, which is dynamic, fast-moving. It is. It's a fast-moving, dynamic situation. And it's rampaging through our world. It's not telling us anything we don't already know. It's strength. So at the moment, the virus feels as though it has the upper hand. Remember, I'm asking the virus. Okay, the virus has a living energy itself. The virus feels as though it has the upper hand and that it is going from strength to strength. We've also got the energy of the Star card, which is the card of healing. It also, the Star card links into the energy of Aquarius and the age of Aquarius. That this was always going to come in around the advent of the age of Aquarius. Now, I know there's a bit of controversy in terms of, well, when does the age of Aquarius begin? But, you know, I'm talking about now, all right? Let me see. Again, this is sounding very cold, guys, because remember, I'm channeling the virus here, okay? This is giving the virus a voice. What the virus is saying is the stars were perfectly aligned for me to come through, okay? For me to be birthed, for my life force to be strong. This was destined to happen, is what I'm feeling. Again, I go back to the fact there is no such thing as accident in our world with regard to the big, big things that happened. This was destined to happen. I feel as though I'm wanting to say it had been looking for its opportunity. It had been looking for the time for its arrival. And it was there to deliver some big truths to us. Look at that, two kings. Very masculine energy. The virus has a very masculine energy. Crossroads, choice point. It's trying to teach us, choice point, crossroads. Choice point times for humanity. It's coming in with a very masculine yang energy. I would say, again, going back to the antidote being love, the energy of love feels a more feminine energy. It's not to say men aren't loving. It's not to say men don't hold love. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm talking about the masculine energy, which is how this virus is presenting itself. Dynamic, strong, action-orientated, I'm going to get my way. What the opposite of that, the duality of that, is that softer feminine energy coming in. Choice point times. 2 other cards, please. The virus. Nine of Swords. Oh, interesting. Interesting. 9 of Swords and the 2 of Cups. What was I just saying? This is almost, it's just given itself away. It's just given itself away. It's just given itself away. I know I've just said that 3 times. I don't know why I've said that. I keep wanting to say that. It's like a stuck record. What the virus fears, the 9 of Swords is the card of fears and worries. What it fears is the energy of love. And what it fears is the energy of truth. Once we've come back into the truth of what we are, which is love, its job will be done. So the more that we fight, the more that we get angry, the more that we go into, victimhood, the further away from our heart we get and the closer we get to ego, it's going to nestle in and be very, very comfortable in that energy. This is serious because we have to get this. As a species, we have to get this. Well, we don't have to get anything, actually. We live in a world with free will. Humanity doesn't have to get it. That's the point. Humanity has a choice point. Are you going to get it and return to love? as your true natural state of being. Put down the fighting, put down the differences, put down the separation. This is what the virus fears. The energy of us finding the truth that only love is real. Yeah, because then we get the Ten of Swords. It's carted off. It's carted off from the stage. The world is the stage. It's done its job. It's carted off. It's over. Got to stay in our hearts. We have to stay in our hearts. Okay. Let's end with a few words on vaccination. And choose my words carefully. There are channels that are being taken off for talking a lot about this subject. So please respect the fact that I am going to say what I believe I can say. Okay? I haven't built this channel up over the last 8 years to have it taken away from me. I'm smart. We have to play smart, okay? So please also be smart in your comments. No smart Alex either. Right. Humour helps, Metatron's saying as well. Yeah, you're right, Metatron. He's saying humour helps as well. I was talking about love being the antidote. Humour and laughter and joy also help. We all take it very seriously. Although I know it's a serious subject, vaccination. Okay, what am I going to say about this? You see, on the bottom of the deck is the Judgment card, which is the card of decision. And then we've got the Ace of Swords. You're not going to like what I'm going to say here, but it's the truth. You have to decide what is true for you. Nobody can tell you. I can't tell you. And to be perfectly honest, if you're looking at anybody else on YouTube or social media or anywhere else to tell you the answer, I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt here, you're failing the test. Because the test is you need to be making the decision for yourself. You need to be making the decision for yourself. And you also need to be respecting the fact that the person next to you might be making a completely different decision, and you need to be at peace with that. And if you're not at peace with that and you're getting all angry and red in the face and about to start typing away about, oh, don't you know about this, and haven't you read this, and haven't you watched that? Oh, can you feel it? Oh, that anger. You're missing the whole point, which is to come back to love. Love doesn't judge. Love doesn't berate. Love doesn't say, you're a stupid idiot. Don't you know this? Why have you done that? No. Love accepts that you are who you are. Love is, really, I'm talking about unconditional love here. I'm talking about unconditional love, which is that I love your choice. No, let me change that. I love you, I accept your choice. I have people in my life who have a very different opinion on the vaccine than I do. And I love them and I respect their decision. I will say on record, and you might shoot me down in flames for this, but I'm not anti-vaccine, but I've always been cautious. So, and this has been true ever since I became aware, and particularly as a mother. Okay, if you've had a baby and you then take the baby into the clinic and you are presented with, I don't know how many jabs it is, but it was horrifying to me how many they had to have when they were so little. And that's when I started to question it. I went ahead with it. Having said that, I once almost got frog marched out of the doctor's surgery for questioning whether mercury was in, I think it was the whooping cough vaccine. But, I stood my ground. But certainly, I will just say on record, my experience of it has been, for example, MMR. My daughters both had the single jabs and they had them spaced apart, years spaced apart. We didn't go for single jab, didn't believe in that, and neither of them have either had the cervical cancer jab, because it was the first year it was rolled out here in the UK, and I did not want my daughter to be a guinea pig. She was only one of 3 in her year that didn't have it. By the time my second daughter got the opportunity to have it, I think there were probably about 10 or 20 in the year that didn't have it. So I'm in the minority. But I'm not saying that the others that took it are wrong. I'm saying that for me and for where I am, it didn't feel right. Do I want to personally take this vaccine? No, I don't. And no, I won't be front of the queue, even if I was front of the queue, which I'm not, because it's all going to the vulnerable people first anyway. Will I change my mind? Possibly. Maybe if they make it mandatory that you can't travel unless you have it, maybe, but I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I'm not telling you what to do. I would actually disrespect you more if you made a decision based on what I'm saying. Because the truth is, I'm telling you what my truth is. My truth doesn't have to be your truth. You have to make the judgment call for yourself. This is just one example. Life is made up of lots of different examples of times when you have to make decisions for yourself. And this is one of them. So, I will pull a couple of cards on it, but certainly, as I say, both of my parents will be having it and are really looking forward to having the jab. I haven't really talked about it much within my friendship group. It's probably 50-50. I have other family members who are not going to be having it, and I have some that will. And do you know what? We can sit around a table and not attack each other, not fight each other, respect each other's opinion. That, my friends, is New Earth energy. What am I asking for? What am I actually asking for? I don't know if the cards are even going to answer it, really. What do you want me to ask? Let's try. What do you want me to ask? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I had actually written this down. Point number 5, and I'd forgotten to tell it to you. Because I want to go back to gratitude. Be grateful that you even have a choice. Ooh. Has anybody said that? No, I've not heard anybody saying it. Be grateful that you even have a choice. You might not have a choice at some point. We might be having a different discussion. But right now, you have a choice. Okay? It is not mandatory. You have a choice. Certainly where I am in the UK. If that changes, we might come back to the subject. But right now, let's not dream in that it's going to be. Let's go back to 1918, Spanish flu. There was no vaccine, okay? There was nothing, okay? Let's now go to 2021, present day. Do you realise that this discussion about shall I have it, shan't I have it, you're right, I'm wrong, because you've got a different opinion from me on this huge subject. Do you realise that in a huge proportion of the rest of the world, they don't even have the choice? Because all of the rich Western countries have bought up all the vaccine anyway. So if you're living in many other parts of the world, you don't even have, you haven't even got the choice on the table. So I actually want to say, and I know I'm sounding, I'm just saying it as it is now because it's how I'm feeling. Be grateful that you've even got the choice to make the decision to either not have it or have it. And remember the people in our world that don't even have that ability. That's what I want to say, and that's what Metatron's reminding me to say. If you do have the virus, if you do have the jab, and if I had the jab at some point, what I would be doing and what I would be suggesting is that you can mitigate the effects of it, any side effects, by again aligning to the highest frequency of light that is possible. It's very much in line with the video I did on 5G. I did a video called From 5G to 5D, which basically demonstrated how you can transform and transmute anything, whether it's a 5G signal or it's something that has been jabbed into your arm, a vaccine, with the right vibration. What is the right vibration? The right vibration is, as an example, seeing it going into your arm or wherever it is they jab you, and rather than fearing it and thinking, oh my God, it's going to cause X, Y, Z, or is this safe? You imagining it going in, and it's to do with it is safe, It is, you know, this is helping me. It's a bit like when you take tablets, okay? I know people have to take loads of tablets every day just to survive. And I always say to them, you should bless the tablet before you eat it or before you swallow it. You should bless the medicine rather than, I mean, my mum is a nightmare. Every time she gets a new drug, she gets the box out, she reads all of the instruction booklet. And in particular, she's looking at what are the side effects. And what she's doing, of course, is she's pulling all of those side effects into her body. Bless her heart. And I do try and tell her, because what you need to do is don't bloody read that. Unless obviously you have something and then refer back to it. But otherwise you're just pulling all of that energy in. Instead, bless the tablet, bless the vaccine, and imagine that it's doing you good. And if that's what you want to do, that's what I would be doing. But right now, as I say, that's not the course of action that I'm about to take. And to be honest, it's completely and utterly irrelevant anyway, because I think there's 13 million people to vaccinate here in the UK within the next 7 weeks to get us out of lockdown by March. That's a big task anyway. Put it this way, when my mum has the jab, which she's going to be having in the next few weeks, I will be setting a prayer circle around her. By that, I'm talking about a grid. I'll be creating a healing grid, which is just, you know, putting some crystals, some of my sprays, putting some positive affirmations, putting her photograph onto it, envisaging her in perfect health and with no reaction. I'll be doing some work around that to protect her, because I saw what the flu jab did to her a few weeks before Christmas. I've never seen her so ill. So am I concerned? Yes, I am. But again, I mustn't pull in that fear, because as soon as I pull in that fear, I help create it. You know, we have to, again, stay in the vibration of love. Okay? Love is the answer. Love is the thing that heals this. So, yeah, it's a choice between that or the devil. Which one do you want to choose? You know, shall we stay in fear and anger and worry? Or shall we stay aligned to love? In the middle of these two, we've got the big V word. Okay? And again, I want to just reiterate here, it's not because I'm in a fear-based state in terms of, oh my God, what are they trying to do to me? What are they trying to put into my body? Blah. No, it's just, it doesn't feel right for me. For me. That doesn't mean it's the same for you. Okay? Remember, I respect, Metatron respects those that make a decision for themselves. Remember, he's also saying, remember what he said at the beginning, which is that we've all got different ancestry. I don't know, maybe I had Viking ancestors who fought it off within the first week. I don't know. Maybe that's why it feels as though for me, it doesn't feel needed at the moment. But again, things can change. It might be very needed in 2 weeks' time, who knows? So keep your options open. But when you're aligned to yourself, and when you're aligned to your truth and your higher self will help you make the decision that's right for you. And then be at peace with it. Be at peace with it. But also be at peace with other people's. There's too much fighting going on about everything. Vaccination just being another one. Okay. Anything else we want to say on this video, Metatron? I think I've covered the points I wanted to make. Let's end with the energy of hope. Hope. Hope that humanity chooses love. Hope that humanity learns its lessons. Appreciation for those dear souls that have passed and are passing to help us wake up. It's an uncomfortable truth, but I believe it to be the truth. The ones that are passing, the ones that are past, soul contract made that decision to help us wake up. I'd almost like to strengthen that. Wake the F up. As a species, I'm not talking about you that's watching this video, I'm talking about as a species, humanity. Get back into the heart. I know this is sounding tough love, but I'm sorry, I just think it's where we're at. Metatron is tough love. He's calling us back to the heart, but he's calling us back with this energy. Where's my wake-up call card? This is what it is. It's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for the world. Just trying to find the card in my deck. If you've got my deck, you know the one I'm looking for, the wake-up call card. Funnily enough, I can't find it. Anyway. Oh yeah, here we go. You see, the card says, listen and take note. What the virus is trying to teach us. If you've listened to what I've said, then this makes sense at higher perspective. It doesn't negate the suffering that's happening on the ground. It doesn't negate the loss and the grief that's happening, the pain, the challenge. I know some people are also suffering from long COVID, with symptoms that go on for a long time, weakness and tiredness. Anything to say with regard to that, Metatron, long COVID? Long COVID. Hold on a minute. Okay, what I'm being shown is somebody, again, I really don't want to trigger anybody, but I just have to give you what I'm getting, okay? Somebody who might have it, and I'm seeing like a snake that is wrapped around them, okay? The snake representing the virus, effectively, still having them within its grip. The snake wants to release its grasp from the person, but that person that still has the snake around it is somehow still resisting an aspect of change that needs to happen in their life, and are forgetting that they are the magician who has all of the tools on the table to be able to change something. Now, I don't know what this is. It's very personal to you. There's something in your life that you're resisting changing. Whether it's a behaviour, a relationship, a job, a status, a way of being, it's not judging. It's just saying that I'm feeling the virus is hanging around until I'm hearing the word acquiescence comes in, acceptance, and change follows. What follows then is the dimensional gateway, which is entry into and rebirth into, got the Ankh, the new way for you, your new life. Not passing over, it's not about passing through the pearly gates. It's entry into your new life. And I say that with deep, deep compassion. I'm somebody that myself, I struggle with things that I know I need to let go of in my own life, and I need to change. I know, guys, how difficult it is. So there is no judgment in terms of still being in the grip if the virus is still trying to teach you something. There is an expression along the lines of something will stay around until you have truly healed from it. Whatever it's trying to teach you, that's what I'm getting. Might come back to that in another video because this is quite long now. We're at over an hour. And I'll also look at some of the other symptoms that are coming up long term, like loss of taste and sense of smell. But I'll do that in another video, guys. I want to get this out today. Much love. Take care of yourself. Let's wrap the whole world in gold and pink light, which brings in the highest illumination of love and opportunity for the virus to be shown its exit point. Much love. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now. Bye.